This is Steve Zeltzer with Project Censored on the Morning Mix, and joining me this morning is Akira Murakami. He's a professor in Japan. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Professor Murakami, maybe you can talk about yourself and what you do in Japan.
I have been an activist scholar for more than 30 years. Studying about human rights and environmental issues. And I happened to buy a copy of Alexei Yabrakov's book on Chernobyl accident, Chernobyl, consequences of the catastrophe for people and the environment, issued by the New York Academy of Science 2 years before the accident. 1 year and a half before the accident. So I knew what would happen to us if we had an accident.
And Japan has had nuclear power for many, many years.
Yes.
Why are there 54 nuclear power plants in Japan?
It's a long story. Can I trace back to its first stage? Just after the Second World War, we looked up to the United States as superpower in the field of science and technology, in the field of industry and economy. After all, we were beaten by the United States. Then came President Eisenhower making his famous speech, Atoms for Peace, at the General Assembly of the United Nations. We were attracted to the ideas of peace and scientific development, and almost forgetting about what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We totally separated two events, nuclear arms and nuclear power generation. And we were quite happy about nuclear power generation introduced in Japan. Some of the audience might remember the animated cartoon characters, Astro Boy, Go Go Astro Boy. In the Japanese language, his name is Tetsuan Atom, iron-limbed atom. His name is Atom. And he has a small reactor in his chest, and his sister's name is Uran. Uran is the Japanese equivalent for uranium. These names clearly show that we are attracted and tricked into believing that nuclear power promised a bright future, for us. But in fact, it was introduced to support nuclear armament, technically and financially. And on the 16th of August last year, ex-Minister of Defense Shigeru Ishiba told us in an interview that Japan is the only one country that has been promoting nuclear power generation without the pursuit for nuclear arms. But we can be rearmed with nuclear bombs by making use of technology and material we are using for nuclear power generation. This means that nuclear power reactors are not a problem of energy, but it's a military issue. We are only doing it for the nuclear deterrent.
Now, the Fukushima nuclear meltdown, you live in the northern part of Japan,
Yes.
Facing the Japanese Sea.
Mm.
What happened on that day, March 11th, and how were you affected personally?
Personally, I was waiting for my plane at Tokyo International Airport, but the very first thing popped up in mind was nuclear plants constructed along the coast of the Pacific Ocean. And my guess was unfortunately right. And when I flew to Vietnam and checked the internet, they were saying that Japan might end in a few days. But when I came back to Japan, everything was in peace and quiet. They didn't care almost anything about the reactors. So from the beginning, so much information has been kept a secret. And again, we were duped into believing that nothing has happened. Almost nothing has happened. But they were doing it to make this collective crime look smaller.
And the government did not let people know that plans were being drawn up possibly for the evacuation of Tokyo. That actually they were concerned that the explosions at the plant would lead to contamination of that whole area and also other nuclear plants in that region. Were you shocked to find out that the government did not tell you the truth about what was going on?
No. I had expected our government to go that way because we've had so many cover-up cases. For example, in 1902, so many cover-up cases, small accidents came to light. So the next year, TEPCO or Tokyo Electric had to shut down, had to put all their reactors taken offline for a certain period of time for inspection. But we didn't have any power shortage problems. So no wonder we wouldn't be surprised to see that to face new cover-up cases.
Now, the government regulatory agencies in Japan that regulate the nuclear industry, are they similar to those in the United States in which industry has a very big say as far as regulation? I mean, in other words, TEPCO it has some real influence.
They are the same in that. The industry has a big say, but the system is a little bit different. Our regulatory commission and the sector that promotes nuclear power are in the built in the same MITI 経済産業省 almost close to each other. But
So
they will go through the motions of separating these two sectors.
So the promoters of nuclear energy in Japan and the government are in the same building
Yes.
with those people who are supposed to regulate nuclear industry. And there has been an occupation by women, mothers of Fukushima, at that
In
that
front of
industry,
that
in front of
ministry, yes.
Have you been to that occupation?
No.
I see.
Because up there in Akita, so many women, so many mothers are worried about their children, and I have been giving lectures on the danger of internal exposure for these women with so serious concerns about their children's health.
And initially, the government and even doctors said there was no immediate danger for radioactivity.
That's right.
What kind of language is that? That there's no immediate danger? What are they trying to say to calm people? To
in a
not
sense,
worry?
they are telling the truth because we might not have immediate health effects, but in 5 or 10 years from now, we might get cancer. But they are emphasizing no immediate health effects, minimizing the danger of future cancer or other serious diseases.
Now, there are 300,000 children in Fukushima, and many of the families there have wanted to evacuate. But apparently the government has not provided them compensation to evacuate if they want to evacuate. What is the situation of these children?
They have two kinds of information. Information provided by the government and the media, and information coming from activists like me. And sometimes these two kinds of information tear away communities, families, even couples. So perhaps 20 or 30% of the residents in Fukushima might want to be evacuated. But a majority of the Fukushima residents are still thinking that they'll be all right living in the same towns and cities, eating the same food, complying with Buy Fukushima, Eat Fukushima campaign.
And what is behind this Buy Fukushima, Eat Fukushima campaign? The
government, the media, the industry, plus mouthpiece scholars whom I tentatively call mouthpiece professors. I mean, mouthpiece of the government.
So the government is engaged in, from what you're saying, in a propaganda cover-up of what's really going on and the dangers to the Japanese people of Fukushima.
Right. And at Akita University, I'm the only one who is giving lectures for fear-stricken mothers.
And these children who are being contaminated, are there any signs that have been discovered of iodine in their urine or other problems, medical problems that they're having?
Yes. Bleeding from nostrils, skin diseases, short-temperedness, and cardiovascular diseases. They are in the news. But news in the internet, news in the cyberspace, not on television.
Have you been interviewed on NHK or Japanese national television?
No. Probably I'm the last one to be interviewed in Akita Prefecture.
So they're not interested in putting your voice on the television?
I'm honored to be your guest.
Now, how did the families, the mothers, the school workers discover that, in fact, their area was contaminated? How did that take place?
And nowadays, news information come out to foreign countries and come back from foreign countries. So if you connect yourself to the cyberspace, you can have so much information of the right kind.
And they had to buy Geiger counters and dosimeters to find out if their area was contaminated?
Yes, people, Japanese people living in any part of the country would like to have a detector that can detect a very small amount of radiation, especially in the food they eat, because our food regulations are quite loose, and we have only spot inspections. So chances are that we might have highly contaminated daikon horseradish in a cardboard box, which is not very contaminated as a whole.
What are the lessons for the people of the United States about the Fukushima disaster, and what can Americans do in solidarity with the Japanese people?
Please be careful about the food you eat, and please be careful about the contamination of the environment. But most importantly, please make every effort to shut down the remaining nuclear reactors before it's too late. This planet couldn't afford another Chernobyl or another Fukushima.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon, Akira Murakami. And also, how can they get more information about you? Do you have a website, or do you have some place they can contact?
I'm afraid our websites haven't been anglicized, but we'll try in the future. So please contact Ecological Options Network based in Bolina, San Francisco.
And they have brought you here to the Bay Area, and the information they provided put you in touch with them. So they've done some good work as far as solidarity and building links with your work and the experience of the Japanese people.
Thank you very much. We will do best, and I hope we'll be connected to each other and taking care of new bearings in our action to change the world.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So,
yeah, do that. Wait.
What?
Okay.
Ready? Okay. What was the difference between how the people of Chernobyl faced this crisis and what's happened in Fukushima?
In the highly contaminated areas in Fukushima Prefecture, people are still living and working. Children are still studying at school and playing in the field. With so many kinds of food heavily contaminated, and they are eating it every day. So I wouldn't be surprised to find the incidence of cancer and many other diseases plus mortality rate will go up in a few years from now.
And what happened in Russia at Chernobyl?
They did a much better job of relocating people. Back then in Japan, even the residents who would like to move to other places, they're still staying because the lack of funding and lack of support.
This criminal cover-up of the government, when people find out the reality of what has happened to them, that they're being contaminated and the government and TEPCO are covering this up, what do you think the response of the Japanese people is going to be to this?
We have been a country of conformists, but I have seen different signs. For example, mothers who were not very interested in politics or social issues, they are now newly self-made activists up in arms against the cover-up, against the nuclear regime, shielded by the media. And I hope this movement will grow up to change the whole society.
And these women and activists, they become newly politically active.
Yes.
Is that being expressed in the Japanese media? Do they interview these women or these activists?
Some of the media did interview these women, but the headlines, features are devoted to the government and industry, and the articles devoted to activists you will find in back pages.
Now, Toshiba and other companies which have the licenses, the patents for this nuclear power technology, are still planning to export
yes.
this industry, these plants to Vietnam, to Jordan. What is going on after this explosion? That they feel that they have to continue to make profit by exporting this nuclear power plant technology?
And these developing countries will be able to get a loan from the Japanese government. Probably that's what they are looking for, not nuclear reactors. And corporations like Toshiba has many options. They will probably be able to obtain a great amount of profit even after we shut down all the reactors by decommissioning business. And at the same time, they have invested a certain amount of money into the research and development of substitute energy.
The shutdown, today, 52 of the 54 plants in Japan, the nuclear plants, are closed down. Is Japan going to be able to have enough energy to continue to operate?
Yes. We have so much electricity left unused. For example, TEPCO and other utilities are encouraging us to waste electricity by microwave ovens and larger refrigerators. And newly built houses and condominiums do not usually have natural gas cooking heaters. Instead, they have electric heaters like those found in American homes.
So,
and we have a lot of thermal power plants, and electricity will never, we wouldn't have any electric power shortage in the future.
now the nuclear plant workers, the utility workers union in Japan and Rengo have supported nuclear power. Why is that when their members may be radiated? Rengo and the unions, in Japan have supported nuclear power. Are they changing their policy, or are they continuing to support nuclear power plants in Japan?
Yeah, probably they will continue to support nuclear power because labor unions, only the labor unions of big corporations have survived to this day. We don't have unions at workplaces where unionizing and union activities are most required, most hopeful.
And what is the situation of the temporary workers who work in these nuclear plants, clean up these nuclear plants? What has happened to them, and what are their conditions?
And no official news has been available, but such workers, I mean subcontractors, are usually farmers working with the nuclear plant on the side, or discriminated people coming from segregated, traditionally segregated villages, plus Korean residents with North Korea nationality, and moreover we have, believe it or not, African Americans from the United States with forged passport, forged visa. We do not welcome manual laborers, but if they are given visas for technicians or engineers, they can work. They can come to Japan and work at work at any plant.
Are they given proper safety education and protection to be aware of the
so.
Working in a nuclear plant, the
don't think
dangers?
so.
Yeah.
If the facts came to light, this could be a diplomatic problem. If the U.S. government so wishes.
So are you saying that the U.S. government is complicit in people coming
yes.
into Japan and working at these plants?
Probably so.
And this activism of young people, of the women, of the how have they communicated? Have they used the internet? Are they using streaming? Are they using different technologies to get their word out, the information out, break the information blockade?
The internet and Twitter and other social networking system. And without them, we could have expanded our movements.
Now, the main two political parties in Japan, the Democratic Party and the Liberal Democratic Party, do they have any differences about their policy towards nuclear power?
Exactly the same. But the Democratic Party has some exceptions among its parliament members.
But both parties basically have the same position.
Pro-nuke.
Pro-nuke.
Pro-nuke. Pro-US-Japan military alliance.
And also the United States is now pushing the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would affect the farmers of Japan and affect the national healthcare system of Japan. What is going on with the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement in Japan and the effect of it in Japan?
The Democratic Party has two opposing sectors, and half of them are totally against the conclusion of TPP because their constituents are firmly against it. Farmers, medical workers, ordinary citizens, and people who are concerned about gene manipulation, GM
GMO,
agriculture, agriculture, yes,
genetically modified
organisms,
organisms. Yeah.
Organisms, yes.
And right now, Japan requires a labeling of GMO products under the TPP.
Mm-hmm.
Are you fearful that this requirement that the Japanese people have that your product should be labeled GMO would be eliminated?
Big problem, I guess, because France has already said no to GM products, and in many other countries, intellectuals, scholars, activists are aware of the danger. And we wouldn't like to be victimized by our regime.
And Japan has 7 million farmers. In Japan, people see pictures of the farmers when they buy their products, their food. What would happen to Japan if the farmers were eliminated? If there were no farmers in Japan? What would the effect be in Japan?
It's strange to have chauvinists, politicians and bureaucrats who would like to import as many arms from the United States, at the same time doing everything to decrease our food supply. But you can't make any war without food and agriculture. They are so inconsistent. Why can't they call themselves patriots? I wonder.
Well, the people who are pushing
Mm-hmm.
this, the big business, Monsanto, drug companies, Pfizer, they will benefit.
Yes, and probably most corporations in Japan are already affiliated to these big businesses that you just mentioned.
So this is the same system that has been pushing nuclear power?
Yes, definitely.
So it's very connected.
Yes.
What does that mean for the future of the world?
Bleak. I shudder to think what would become of us in a few years. Contaminated with radioactivity, might be contaminated with GMO, and our economic scale is getting longer, and polarization is getting worse and worse every day. So I just think I should do my best to change this situation. And we have been, as I said earlier, we have been a country of conformists. I'd like to do my best to change this atmosphere.
And what has the response been to people in the United States that you've met with while you visited the United States?
Please continue with your own unionization and anti-nuke movements, and say goodbye to the remaining nukes like Diablo Canyon, and show a concrete example for the rest of the world.